I did, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I did.
No.
Why was this?
I wasn't old enough.
If you could have voted, so if you were old enough, would you have voted?
Certainly.
Tories.
Who did I vote for? Lib Dems.
For the Lib Dems in the general election.
Do you know who you'd have voted for?
I think it probably would have been the Green Party.
I think it's a natural tendency to think how it's going to affect you or oneself.
I felt that the Lib Dems, with them in power, or sharing power, would have watered down Labour or Tory policies. There has certainly been another stronger voice in Parliament helping to steer the government. It seemed to be a bit more democratic to me.
I kind of felt voting Green in the general election might be a wasted vote when the Tories are so strong in Worthing. So you could say in a way my vote was a bit tactical, because really the only chance of the Tories not getting in Worthing is to vote Lib Dem. So
The parties such as Conservatives, they didn't have any policies that would help people at my age and wouldn't be helping the next generation of people. I thought the Green Party had policies that would help the future generations.
Well, I think it's everybody's sort of duty, because that's how the country is run, and there's no good complaining afterwards if things are not what you would have liked or helped to affect that end.
Well, I think if you want to make a change, if you want to make a difference, it's all very well moaning about things and saying, I'm not happy with the way that's being done, I'm not happy with the way this is being done and the country's being run, blah blah blah, if you're not prepared to get up and do something yourself. And it's an easy thing to do for me to get up and go and vote once every 5 years, or once every year in the local elections. So that's why I vote, because we're free to do so.
I feel I have a right to vote because I'm a part of society, and the people who are voted into offices in government are there to be servants of the public, and it's important that we have a say in trying to decide who those people are who govern our country. I think it's important. I think it's your duty as a citizen, if you possibly can, to vote.
Because a vote can make a difference.
How so, do you think?
Because if you don't vote, then you're not going to affect anything. So you might as well vote to make a change.
Well, I think a lot of people are unsure. Politics is a tricky subject, I suppose, if you think about it. But some people think, oh, well, it won't make any difference, it'll still be the same. And they haven't got any, perhaps, strong feelings either way.
Because we have the freedom not to. And I suppose there's a contradiction there, isn't there? People fought to maintain the right to vote, and to have the vote, and to have our say and choose how we're led and governed. There were also people who chose not to fight. They were imprisoned for their beliefs, or they were sent to the front line, the trenches anyway, as stretcher bearers and medics. I suppose that's what people fought for. And the fact that now we can have those arguments and we can voice those opinions and thoughts, because that's the freedom we have in this democracy, where we have the right to vote or not vote as we please.
I think there's probably a lot of reasons. I think some people probably aren't very interested in politics at all, and can't be bothered to vote. I think some people feel that politicians don't really represent them, so it doesn't really matter what they vote. They won't really listen to them anyway. I think politicians could maybe do a lot more to make people interested, and particularly young people interested in the political system and in voting.
I think they're fed up with the voting system. I don't think they think it's democratic enough, so they just switch off from it.
Sometimes I myself have thought to myself, oh, I don't know, it'd be the same old thing. But then right at the last minute I've always taken myself up to the voting place and tick the name of probably the one I voted for last time, or certainly the party, shall we say, yeah, I would say. Oh yes, yes. If they don't vote, how are we going to choose the politician? How are the politicians going to be selected? It's up to the general public. No good moaning about things afterwards, is it? If you don't have a say, if you have a say or given a say in who is in power and you don't use that vote or that selection, yes, I would say so, definitely.
Yes, I think it is, because people died and because people fought. I mean, the suffragettes fought for women to have the vote. A few years before that, it was only people in the upper echelons of society who had a vote and a say, and what they say affects everybody in the country.
Yeah, I do think it's important, because what's the option if we don't have a democratically elected government? What do we have? Something resembling Stalinist Russia, or a fascist society where somebody tells us all what to do and we just do it. I think, yeah, in order to have a democracy we all have to vote.
Yeah, I think it's definitely important. I think they need to be educated on why they should vote and, well, the reasons for voting.
To being honest, I don't think so.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I think it was 1983.
I can't honestly remember if I voted the first time I was able to after I was 18.
I think really I started voting after I was married, and children came along. And I had to have more of a sense of responsibility. I felt it was a responsible thing to do. When you're fancy free, who's in power perhaps doesn't mean a lot to you, to the average person. I can only speak personally that that was the time which I became in, like, keep the home and how the country was being run, and more serious matters, because then that's the time I think that what happens is important to the person involved.
I just thought I will vote because I want to have my say, because I didn't feel like I don't think a lot of people have a say in politics until the day you vote, and that's what they all fight for in the build-up to a general election. So, I mean, it does make you feel quite powerful, but how powerful are you really when it comes to it? But yeah, that's why I voted. I wanted to make a difference.
I know I wasn't particularly interested in politics when I was in the sixth form. I can remember having a few political conversations with friends, but nothing much, and I certainly didn't study politics. But once I went off to do my degree, I became increasingly politicised, and I did vote then, so that would have been from the age of about 19 or 20 onwards. I did vote, and I think I've voted every year since then, wherever I've lived.
Well, I suppose they thought whoever they voted for would be helpful in easing the problems of their lives and livelihood. And I think years ago people were quite responsible in voting, particularly the male, the husband or the man was very, and often the ladies, the wives. Well, I don't know, I can't remember my parents. You just take it a lot for granted when you're growing up. Your parents, what they do, you know what they're doing, but you sometimes don't know why they're doing it.
They did vote, yes. I don't think they were particularly that interested in politics. I think I don't know that they saw a bigger picture. I think they voted for what they felt would improve their lives. Yes,
I think they did vote. My parents always voted for the Tory party. My dad was more into politics and read the paper more and had more of his own opinions. I think my mother tended to vote for whoever she thought would best look after her interests, which, being in business, was the Tory party, and I don't think she particularly looked to bigger issues in society.
They've got a very strong opinion against some parties, so yeah, they definitely go out and vote.
I have to be honest for who's going to do the best for me, and it might seem selfish, but I think that's the aim of most people. But wider issues are very important, and sometimes they are very divided. So it is sometimes I am dubious about quite. But I have, up to the present time, I have voted as to what's going to be best for me and my family, of course.
Yeah, so I bear in mind, a balance of the two, I would say, and it's very difficult finding that, I think, in current politics, and I would imagine it's difficult delivering that as well. If you are a politician or a party, it's difficult coming up with the policies that find the balance. And in time, you've got to, once you get into power, you've got to allow time for these policies to take place and to take effect, and they do take time. I don't believe there's a quick fix overnight, but I think you have to allow time for these policies to take effect, and I think we're living in a very impatient society where people want things to be changed overnight.
I think first and foremost I vote for issues. So if, for example, a party, if they came to power, they would make me financially better off. If they had policies, wider policies on bigger issues outside my own personal little life that I really didn't agree with, I couldn't vote for them. So it would always be issues first.
I think I'll get a mixture, try and get a mixture of both. I mean, you can view all the policies online. I think it's just getting the best of both, really. I think it's maybe if, for younger generations, maybe if they were more educated about it at school, I think they could have formed their opinions better, and then that would make them want to go out and vote.